it came out perfectly straight. Then,
幅広いな。
42ミリぐらいと言われてるんで。
when he actually measures the width, 43 millimeters, it was exactly 1 millimeter too wide.
叶いませんわ。1年ほどちょっと日本以外の国も見てみようかなと思ってカナダに行ったんですけど、カナダのお店で初めて越前打ち刃物の包丁を見て、めちゃくちゃ切れるなって言われて。
Echizen Forged Blades. Forged blades are made by striking iron, just like Japanese swords. This makes them unlike so-called stamped blades, which are made by punching iron out of a mold. Because forged blades are shaped one by striking red hot iron, they are not suited for mass production. But they can be crafted into various shapes according to their intended use, such as seaweed harvesting sickles and tatami makers' knives. The history of Echizen Forged Blades dates back to 1337, during the Muromachi period. It is said to have begun when Chiyozuru Kuniyasu utilized his sword-making skills to forge sickles for farmers. For the following 700 years, these techniques have been preserved and passed down by artisans. In 1979, it became the first cutlery to be designated as a national traditional craft. Here is a young man who was captivated by Echizen Forged Blades. Echizen Forged Blade artisan, Toru Tamura.
一応越前の地では700年ぐらい続いてると言われてるんですけど、その一番最後に、今現在僕が一番最後の方にいるってことで途絶えさせてはダメやなと思いますね。
Born in Matsuyama City, Ehime Prefecture, Tamura loved making things from a young age. He enrolled in Neihama National College of Technology, where he studied materials engineering for 5 years. Tamura's encounter with Echizen Forged Blades happened in an unexpected place.
1年ほどちょっと日本以外の国も見てみようかなと思ってカナダに行ったんですけど。
After graduating from technical college, Tamura moved to Canada on a working holiday visa and started working at a shop that sold Japanese kitchen knives.
カナダのお店で初めて越前打ち刃物の包丁を見て、めちゃくちゃ切れるなって言われて。
Fascinated by Echizen Forged Blades in the foreign land of Canada, he left his hometown of Ehime immediately after returning to Japan and dove into the world of Fukui's Echizen Forged Blades at the age of 21. After 3 years of training, he apprenticed himself to Masaji Shimizu, a traditional craftsman and contemporary master craftsman, and spends his days continuing his training. Shimizu's masterpiece is this large tuna knife. With a blade length of 150 centimeters, it is said that only a few people in Japan can forge a tuna knife of this size, as it requires highly advanced skills. In 2013, Shimizu was awarded the medal with yellow ribbon in recognition of his outstanding skills. This is footage of a tuna being carved, showcased at the celebration party for his medal with yellow ribbon award. A massive tuna was brilliantly filleted using the tuna knife crafted by Shimizu. However, the previous year, in 2012, an unbearable event occurred. His beloved wife, Yasuko, who had always supported him by his side, suddenly passed away.
この会社をもう辞めようと思ったんやって。そしたらどうしてもって来たんね。
まあでも僕はもうどうしても来たかったんで、本当に断れても毎日通って窓から覗いてやろうと本当に思ってたんですね。まあ音聞くだけでも全然違うんで、窓閉まってたらもう音だけ聞いて帰ってやろうと思ってたんです。
Tamura's enthusiasm saved a legacy that was about to die out. It connected a single technique.
田村さんに期待することってありますか？
なんか期待することでこれもう後継いでもらえるわけです裏は何も。
でまあもちろん腕もそうですけど、まあ憧れの存在というか目指すべき目標です。
On this day, Tamura began making a Deba knife. The materials are a soft low-carbon iron, Jigane, and a very hard high-carbon steel, Hagane. But why go through the trouble of using two types of iron with different hardnesses?
硬い鋼だけで包丁を作るとポキッと折れてしまうんで、それを防ぐためにクッションというか。
Blades can be broadly divided into two types, double-edged and single-edged. Looking at a cross-section of a knife. For a single-edged blade made by combining soft iron and hard steel, the soft iron side is sharpened, exposing the hard steel to create the cutting edge. Because it has an angle on only one side, it is suited for precision slicing. The Deba knife Tamura is making is also a single-edged knife. On the other hand, a double-edged blade consists of hard steel sandwiched between soft iron, and both sides are sharpened to create the edge. Because it is angled on both sides, it is suited for push-cutting straight-through ingredients, such as the santoku knives primarily used in homes. First is waka shitsuke, forge welding, attaching the soft iron to the hard steel. The iron is heated to about 1000 degrees Celsius until it glows white. Then, it is struck and stretched out using a machine called a belt hammer, fusing the two types of iron together. Today, this machine is used, but in the past, an artisan known as a sakite, striker, would strike the iron with a hammer. Work efficiency increased drastically with the introduction of the belt hammer during the Taisho era. At his busiest, Tamura says he makes up to 400 knives a month. However, the temperature in front of the forge reaches over 40 degrees Celsius, making hydration essential.
水1日どれぐらい飲むんですか
4リットルぐらい飲む。で、体重も4キロぐらい痩せるんで夏場はげっそりします。
本当ですか
The Deba knife-making process has moved on to Nakago Tori, drawing out the tang that will be inserted into the handle. He uses the belt hammer to strike and stretch it thinly. This completes the basic shape of the knife. Then, Tamura buried the heated knife in straw ash.
叩かれて鉄の中にストレスが溜まってて、一晩かけてゆっくり冷ましてあります。
To prevent the iron from cooling too rapidly, it is left to rest overnight in the straw ash, which has a thermal insulating effect. The next day, the dirt is cleaned off the Deba knife that rested in the straw ash overnight, and he moves on to the next process of refining the shape. Through this process called ara narashi, rough planishing, the rough surface is hammered smooth. At the same time, the thickness of the knife is adjusted.
そう鉄がきちっと締まるとこういう風な艶が出てくるんですけど。
Next, the edges of the knife are ground down to adjust the shape. Even though they are handmade, they cannot be sold if the sizes are inconsistent, so he carefully shapes it while matching it to a template. After warming the shaped knife over a stove, he struck and bent the beautifully finished knife with a hammer. In fact, during the next process of quenching, the hard steel shrinks and the knife warps toward the steel side. To counteract this, bending it in the opposite direction beforehand ensures that it ends up perfectly straight in the end. Quenching is the process of putting an 800-degree heated knife into cold water to cool it instantly, giving the steel its hardness. What is being applied to the knife is a special mud mixed with whetstone powder. Doing this increases the cooling effect when it is plunged into the water. Finally, it is time for quenching. Iron turns a glowing persimmon orange when it approaches 800 degrees. If the timing is wrong, it won't harden properly or cracks will form. It is the task that requires the artisan's utmost care. "3 minutes in the fire. The warp is almost completely gone. Because the shape cannot be significantly altered after quenching, this step is taken. Tamura's work ends with this quenching process. Knife making is done through a division of labor, and after this, it is polished by a sharpener. The Deba knife finished in this way is mainly used for filleting fish and is especially favored by professional chefs. How does it feel to use? We spoke to a chef who regularly uses this knife.
なぞるだけで全部切れる。もう力入れずにスーッと切るとやっぱその分口当たりは滑らかになるんでね。全部がこう真四角で角が出る。やっぱ作ってても気持ちいいですから。
Coming up, the young artisan takes on the challenge of forging a massive tuna knife. After work on this day, Tamura was treated to dinner at his master's house. The master often invites Tamura, who came all the way from Ehime alone, to his home.
今度俺来月連休明けたら、そうそう60センチのものでいっぺん売ってみや。な。
やってみます。緊張しますねやっぱり。あんだけ大きいのは神経も使えますんで、ちょっと。
今度前いっぺんあれ見ているさけ、自分の見ているでできる。
頑張ります。精一杯頑張ります。
Though grouped under the term tuna knives, their sizes vary depending on the specific use. 60 centimeters is considered small for a tuna knife, but it is incredibly large for Tamura, who has never forged one before. Two weeks later, the day arrived. 5 years after diving into the world of cutlery, Tamura's expression is stiff. His master watches over him in silence. The making of the tuna knife begins. The manufacturing process is basically the same as a Deba knife, but because the item is larger, it requires more materials, which increases its weight and makes it harder to handle. Perhaps due to the weight, it doesn't go as smoothly as a Deba knife. Despite bouncing off the hammer, the iron gradually stretches out. He seems to be gradually getting used to handling the iron. What is the master thinking as he watches? The shaping of the tang is finished.
一晩寝かさなあかんのにまた明日っす。
Tamura, who moved from Ehime Prefecture 5 years ago. Currently, he lives alone in an apartment in Echizen City. Using a knife he made himself, he is quite skilled at cooking.
切れ味軽いっすわ。我ながら。玉ねぎとかも切れ味いいやつでやるとあんまり涙出ないんですわ。玉ねぎの細胞が潰れずに切れるんで、目が痛い成分が出てこないですよ。いただきます。
Tamura rarely eats out and makes it a point to cook for himself.
しっかり食べんと仕事もできませんし、体調管理も仕事のうちなんで。
After finishing his meal, he began sharpening a knife in his room. He is dedicated not only to forging iron, but also to studying sharpening techniques. The next day, the tuna knife, which was left to rest overnight, has its edges ground to adjust its size. It came out perfectly straight. Then,
42ミリぐらいって言われてるんで。
when he actually measures the width, 43 millimeters, it was exactly 1 millimeter too wide.
叶いませんわ。
He corrects the 1 millimeter width and bends it in preparation for quenching. Because the blade is so long, it is difficult to read how much of a bend to put into it. Finally, the quenching. Checking its condition, he moves it back and forth to heat the entire knife.
あと先行けばいいですかね。先が赤めばいけるっすか。行きます。
Did it go well?
なんとか大丈夫やと思います。
Afterward, the tuna knife had its edge ground by a sharpener. A handle was attached and his name was engraved. This time, he was allowed to engrave his own name. And so, the tuna knife was completed. This tuna knife that Tamura forged for the first time. How does it look in his master's eyes?
ずっとや。
はい。はい、ありがとうございます。まあやっぱ越前の包丁切れるわって言ってくれる人がいる限りは、まあ先人たちに恥じないように仕事をきちっとやっていきたいなと思います。
To a young man who encountered Echizen Forged Blades in the faraway land of Canada, the 700-year-old traditional techniques are being passed down. To pass this tradition on to future generations in this land, the young man has begun walking forward with a will harder than iron and certain skills. Opening the door to tomorrow, he steps one step closer to his dream.